Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. Today we're tackling something a little different. We're going to be looking at how to actually create a not-for-profit corporation, specifically in Toronto.
Sounds good.
Yeah. We're going to be using some excerpts from creating a Canadian not-for-profit corporation. It's like this step-by-step guide.
Okay.
So whether you're like seriously thinking about starting your own nonprofit or just kind of curious of the whole process, stick with us. We're going to uncover some like really interesting stuff. Things like, did you know there's a whole system to check if your amazing nonprofit name is already taken by someone else?
Right.
Or that getting charitable status isn't actually required, but it can unlock some serious perks. We're going to break it all down, so let's get started.
Yeah. And I think, it's so important to understand like the why behind incorporating. You're not just, filing paperwork. You're really setting up like a strong legal foundation for your organization. Something that's going to be attractive to funders, to partners, and even potential members.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Especially in a city like Toronto. I mean, the nonprofit scene here is so vibrant. You really got to stand out. And like proving you're credible is like essential.
Yeah, totally. It's super easy to get caught up in, the excitement of the mission and forget about those practicalities.
Exactly.
So speaking of practicalities, let's talk about the first step, right? Understanding the basics.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure some of our listeners are already familiar with this, but for those who aren't, like, where do we even begin?
Right. We don't want to leave anybody behind. Right.
Yeah.
So the Corporations Canada website, I mean, that's really your go-to starting point.
Okay.
But, I'll give you a pro tip that, like, I wish I knew when I was starting out. Use their online tool called List of Dissolutions. It lets you find names of, like, recently dissolved nonprofits. In Toronto specifically, it's kind of a gold mine, especially if you're looking for a name that maybe has some existing recognition in the community.
Oh, that's a fantastic tip.
Yeah.
So once we've got those basics down, then we get to move to I think the fun part, right?
Oh.
Choosing the name.
Yes.
Sounds simple enough, but I'm guessing there are probably some pitfalls to avoid.
For sure. You want a name that like really reflects your mission, that's memorable, something that resonates with your target audience.
Right.
But you don't want to get too attached to an idea before checking if it's like already in use.
Yep.
And that's where the NUANS system comes in.
Okay.
It's surprising how many organizations, kind of skip this step and then they run into legal issues down the road. So
Ooh, yeah.
you definitely want to avoid that.
Definitely want to avoid that.
Yeah.
So we've got our name, right?
Yes.
It's unique. It's awesome. What's next?
Well, next up is drafting your Articles of Incorporation. Think of it as your organization's birth certificate, right?
Okay.
It outlines your nonprofit's purpose, how it's structured. It even lists like the initial board members. This is where things can get a little overwhelming for some folks, but Corporations Canada, they actually offer templates and guides, which is super helpful.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
But I will say, if your nonprofit has, a complex structure, getting legal advice early on can like save you a ton of headaches in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking of the board, right? How important is it to choose the right team? I mean, I'm guessing it's got to be more to it than just picking friends who, are passionate about the cause.
Totally. You hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
Having a strong, diverse board, I mean, people with a range of skills, that's critical. Think about fundraising, legal expertise, financial management. Your board needs this mix of skills to really guide your nonprofit effectively. And, of course, they need to be committed to the mission and willing to put in the work.
Right. Okay. So we've got our name, our Articles of Incorporation are done. We've got the dream team assembled. What else do we need to know before, like, we can officially make this thing happen?
Okay, so now we're going to talk bylaws. These are basically the internal rules that govern how your nonprofit operates, right? Like, how are you going to make decisions? What are your membership policies? How are you going to run your meetings?
Okay.
Corporations Canada, they offer guidance on this stuff, but this is actually where I think a lot of new organizations can really benefit from looking at the bylaws of like similar successful nonprofits, maybe even some here in Toronto,
Right.
just for inspiration.
Right. Yeah.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
That's smart. Borrow from the best.
Right.
Okay. So finally, how do we actually submit our incorporation application? How do we make this dream a reality?
Well, the good news is it's mostly online these days. I mean, it's way easier than it used to be.
Oh, okay, good.
So you submit everything to Corporations Canada, pay the filing fee, and then, just wait for approval. The processing time, it can vary, so definitely factor that into your timeline.
Okay, perfect. Now, we touched on charitable status
Yeah.
earlier, and I know this can be a real game changer for a lot of nonprofits. Can you kind of break down like what it actually means and why it's so important?
Sure. Charitable status means the CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency, they recognize you as operating for like a charitable purpose. And this opens up a whole world of tax benefits,
Okay.
including the ability to issue official donation receipts. And that's huge for attracting donors.
Right. So it's not just about, tax breaks for the organization itself. It's about for the people who are supporting it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So what about the application process for that? Is that complicated?
Well, the CRA, they have specific categories for what they consider a charitable purpose.
Right.
Your activities need to match up with, one or more of these categories. So
Yeah.
you have to provide detailed information about your programs, your finances, your governance structure. It can be a bit of a lengthy process, but usually the benefits are worth it, especially in a city like Toronto where donors are, actively looking to support registered charities.
Okay. Well, we've covered a lot of ground, right? From like choosing the right name to putting together a board to understanding all the ins and outs of incorporation and charitable status. I mean, it's clear starting a nonprofit, it's a journey.
It is, yeah. But, while there's a lot to think about, remember there are resources out there like Corporations Canada, the CRA, and even, mentorship programs from established nonprofits that can help you every step of the way.
That's great to hear. You don't have to do it alone.
Exactly.
And like you were saying earlier, the nonprofit sector in Toronto, it's vibrant, it's collaborative. There's a real sense of like helping each other succeed, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So as we're wrapping up here, what would you say is like the one piece of advice you would give to someone who's just starting out on this journey?
I would say don't underestimate the power of networking and building relationships.
Hmm.
Go to events, connect with other nonprofits that are doing similar work, find mentors. I mean, the Toronto nonprofit community is incredibly welcoming and supportive.
That's such great advice. So for our listeners, if you're feeling inspired, take that first step, do your research, make those connections, and start building the nonprofit of your dreams. Who knows? Maybe someday you'll be the one sharing your wisdom and experience with others.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.